Hello, my name is Rob Morales, RCO Network. I'm here on a Wednesday. We're trying a new show, and I'm here with my esteemed co-host on the Wednesday show. We talk to entrepreneurs and CEOs about different aspects of life, and today, and hopefully every week, we're going to be talking about relationships, love, and all the things that bring us together in intimacy. So please welcome my esteemed co-host, Miss Taylor Wood.
Hi. Hello.
Oh, yeah, she's
here. She
here.
is. Ready to go.
She is back here, back in action. We interviewed her a few weeks ago, and we had this discussion, hey, we should do a relationship show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's interesting. There's a lot to be said about relationships and those things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things we can say and a lot of things we shouldn't say. So who knows how these shows will go? But it's all an experiment, right?
Totally just an experiment. Dipping our toes in the water.
Oh boy. So Taylor is a very unique character. All right, let me get you a little bit right there. And she does, so she is 21, right?
Yes, sir.
Currently she is, what's your status, miss?
I am single AF.
Oh boy.
I'm on every dating market on the market. So
On every dating market?
every dating app on the market and every market.
And so I am with somebody, and I've been with them for about 3 years. I'm not going to get too personal. We talked about a lot of things as far as beginning of the shows, like how far can we go, and pretty much if you talk to me on the side or in person, I'll tell you everything. But I have to be mindful, and we talked about being very mindful about people and things and people in certain situations in our life too.
Yeah, totally.
So we're gonna probably cross the line a couple times. We might,
we don't mean to though. We don't mean it.
But we're here to talk about relationships. So if you have any comments or questions, put those in the comments section, and we will answer them. I mean, I come with a certain amount of experience. I would say I'm a little bit older than 21.
Yeah, just
a tad.
A smidge.
And I was sharing with Taylor some experiences and some stories, and she was like, holy shit.
Times are a lot different than now, let me tell you.
Certain things don't change. It doesn't matter with time. But
So true. So true.
So we were sharing these experiences. We wanted to bring them to you, and then obviously answer any kind of questions you guys have. So if you hit the like button, hit that like, especially if you hear anything you see or say. I don't know how much Taylor will tell you. I mean, she's told me a lot.
I'm an open book, let me tell you.
She's told me quite a bit just before we came on the show today. So hopefully you guys get to hear as much as I did, but maybe not. So anyway, I think where we start is, identifying where a relationship is.
Yeah.
What is a relationship to you?
A relationship to me is two people who have an attraction to each other and have a connection, and they want to blossom out of it, basically.
Blossom out of it?
I guess bloom, blossom, but
what does that mean? What does that what does
blossom out of it? Well, there's so many different ways that a relationship could go through. You can build it further. You can take it, to the intimate level. You can take it to a relationship. You can take it to friends. There's so many different levels that relationships have to it. Why? What's your opinion on relationships?
Well, I have identified 4 areas of relationships. If you mind me asking and answering your question. So okay, so what I've decided, there's really 4 types of relationships. Mm-hmm. At least there's no science behind this, so don't think there's going to be any kind of book or we're not going to follow the Bible for sure. No. So what I identify a relationship is 4 different criteria. Right, there is seeing somebody. It means you're quasi friends, and there's no sexual intimacy. You're just kind of starting the conversation and being somewhat mindful that, hey, this could be a potential person, right? Because I think in terms of relationship between a friend and somebody you're with is really the sexual encounters that you have.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So, I mean, having a friend and having a intimate relationship is really equal to having sex with that person.
Oh, totally.
So I've identified that in 4 different criteria. So the first criteria is seeing somebody. So you may be having casual sex with this person, but you're definitely kind of leaning towards maybe this is getting a little serious. Mm-hmm. But you're not there yet. They're kind of friends, but not friends.
Yeah.
They might have been the one hookup that you had, and then you're like, well, maybe I'll give them a little bit. Maybe I'll go on a second date and see that. So that's seeing somebody. The second realm is dating, where you're having regular sex with, and you're somewhat exclusive, but you're still seeing other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally.
Okay. So, and then there's the exclusive one where you've totally cut off everybody. You're having intimacy with just one person on a regular basis, and you've clearly identified, hey, I'm not with anybody else. Like you go to a party and you're like, hey, is this your boyfriend? You're like, yeah.
Yeah. Even when you want to say no. Really cute guy comes up to you.
Well, at this party, you're my girlfriend, but outside of here, we're just friends. But to my parents, you're my boyfriend.
You're my boyfriend. Everybody else.
And then I think the fourth criteria, so the fourth realm is marriage.
Yeah.
That's like totally exclusive, not dating anybody else. Got them hooked, got the ring, got everything you wanted. Hey, we're all excited.
Got them in a bag.
Yeah. So do you agree with that, Miss?
I do. I definitely agree. Those are.
Is there any? Is that the spectrum? Is there anything different than those four?
So there's this thing that's trending right now, and it's called the situationship. And that's basically the in-between between talking and dating them. So you guys, like, it's kind of a double standard type of situation. So the girl can go off and she can't do anything pretty much. She can't see other people. She can't talk to other boys. But the guy, he can go off and do what he wants to do. But they're just having sex. Like, there's no label on it. Like, they're just hooking up. But they have feelings for each other. But the guy wants to hook up with other people.
So it's okay for the guy too, not the girl too.
Pretty much. So
what is it called again?
A situationship.
Is this new?
And there's also another word called like a sneaky link. So it's a little bit even more discreet than the first stage of dating.
So should I add to my criteria of relationship types?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me write this down because this is all new to me. So
yes.
Situationship.
The situationship and the sneaky link. But the sneaky link is the first step before everything. So usually the sneaky link turns into the situationship. And every girl hopes that the situationship turns into the relationship and, so on. But most of the times it just doesn't.
Is there a hashtag for that?
I'm sure you could find one.
Oh, boy. Okay, so, I mean, there's obviously a spectrum of different areas that you can go in. But I think we've clearly identified that, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of areas.
Oh, boy. So I guess the question is, do you believe in marriage?
Yes, I do now.
Because you're 21, right?
Yeah.
And you came off of a bad breakup, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we've talked about that on the other show.
Yeah, I just think the one thing that my mind can't really wrap around is like being with somebody, just one person for the rest of your life. And so when I was younger,
is that hard?
It is. Like, I don't know if it's because I haven't met the right person or I just know that there's so much more out there and I'm greedy. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's a 21, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because I'm just 21, but I always thought
shit slows down when you're like 40.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what's
I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm like, how many times are you going to go partying every night?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I feel like by the time I settle down and get married, like, I don't know. I just can't picture myself just being with one person for the rest of my life. And that's where I do believe in marriage, though. Yeah. I do now. I do get it. Like, when you meet the right person and then you spend the rest of your life with them. But
well, what does marriage mean to you, though? I mean, does that mean the same thing of what I'm known, I guess? Yeah.
I mean, just being committed to that person and spending, making a family with them, making a life with them for the rest of your life. That's just kind of scary.
So I guess in terms of marriage, are you looking at, I mean, again, from the perspective of somebody being 21, from somebody being about 40, are you looking, I guess, what perspective, or what experience have you had relating to marriage? Are your parents still together?
No, I have never grown up with together parents. My parents separated when I was about 2 or 3, and then my mom did remarry, and that didn't work out, unfortunately. My dad remarried a few times, so it's always been in and out with marriage. So I think that could definitely have something to do with it.
And see, my parents are like old school, man. My dad just passed this December, but they were together like every day, even despite all the issues and, despite like all the arguments and stuff, they still stuck it out, until the very end.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how it should be. And that's just what I feel like things have changed so much, like in today's society, like it's just so different. Like, nobody wants to work on it because they can just be like, oh, I'm going to go hop on Instagram. I can find me a new wife, like I can go find a new girl. Like, it's that easy to just go find somebody. Nobody wants to stick through it and work through the issues.
Is that really the fault of like social media and the dating apps and everything else? Is that really like, is that technology really at play?
Yeah, I would definitely say so because every single relationship I've been in, I have been cheated on. Every single relationship because of social media. So it just puts a bad rep on the rest of, your life and then marriage and things down the road. It's just how much worse is it going to get?
Because I think with social media and dating apps, it's really just availability.
Yeah.
It's like, when somebody pisses you off, you'd rather not just deal with the issue. Be like, oh, screw this. I'm going to find somebody else that's not going to piss me off in that way anymore.
Exactly.
And it's just so easy to go find somebody. And it's as easy as a swipe, right?
Right. Exactly. It's so easy. It's so easy. You can literally go on your explore page on Instagram, go on Snapchat, Facebook, whatever. First thing you see is probably like a female and it's just, or a male, whatever.
Do you think it's easier for girls to hook up than guys?
No.
Ugh. See, no. I think it's so much easier for a girl, especially somebody as attractive as you, to hook up with whoever you want.
No,
right.
I think I guess it kind of depends your mindset on things. Like, if you're more of a hookup type of girl, that's a different story. But like, if you need to have an emotional connection, then that's another different story. And that's.
Do you want an emotional connection with somebody?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big must. For me, just.
Well, so let's break it down a little bit more.
Yeah.
What is an emotional connection?
You guys have hung out a few times. Like, you have good conversation. You talk frequently. I don't know. You just have a good vibe with each other. You have a good connection.
I would say it's communication.
Yeah, communication for sure is definitely a big factor.
Because being able to, I think really communication is just being honest, and not necessarily coming from an honesty of maliciousness. Because there's so many times where somebody gets you upset, and they're kind of over honest.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're trying to hurt you because you hurt them,
right?
Rather than just saying, "Hey, this is just my perspective on things, and this is how I felt." It's more like they're kind of blaming you for whatever situation. I think communication at the end of the day is just really honest and saying, "Hey, this is the situation. This is what you did, and this is how I felt, and I'm just sharing this with you because I trust you."
Right.
And because I trust you, I can share these feelings with you. And then obviously there's going to be some feedback, and whatever you have to say, I have to also accept because that's your perspective. But that's not a lot of relationships. That's more like, F off, you did this and you did this. And then because I'm so emotionally charged, it's going to charge you and be like, yo, you did this and you did that. And so it becomes like this, almost shooting match of who's more right.
Yes, exactly. There's no winning in it. I feel like somebody is you just walk away, you just say your piece, or not even your piece, you just say your final words and walk away. Nothing gets resolved.
Have you had a relationship where communication was like that, or have you had a chance to do that?
Like all my relationships, it's just you try and fight fire with fire, and it's just never going to happen. And then you try and put the flame out, and it just ignites it even more, even when you're trying to put it out.
Well, I guess I meant have you ever had a situation where you're just honest with somebody?
And
able to communicate? And I guess I guess if you really did have somebody like that, then you'd probably still be with them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I try and be as honest as I can about things. I cannot hide my emotions, and that's one.
I get that feeling.
It's a blessing and a curse because if I'm pissed, I'm gonna be mad. And I can't hide it. And so if something's bothering me, I'm gonna come right out and say it because I don't want to let it bother me for another second. And
I think that's how women are, though.
Yeah, I definitely
think women
so.
are more vocally emotional, where men tend to hide things a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. Because, my ex would come out and be like, if I tried to bring something up, he's like, well, what about this, this, and that? And then I'm like, well, how was I supposed to know any of that was bothering you if you don't say something? I am bringing something to your attention right now. That's called communication. It's destroying relationships.
Do you think women demand that more than men? Do you think it demand it to a fault?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say to a fault. They definitely demand it, and I think that's a good demand to have.
I will say, I mean, if there was a book to read out there, it'd be No More Mr. Nice Guy. I don't remember the author, but if you want to if you want an interesting read on today's culture and how men are raised, it talks about how women raise men. And they're not being raised to be men; they're being raised to be women.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens a lot of times, and this is definitely in my case, and I think what happens a lot of times is that as a man that has been raised more by their mother or mother figure, they tend to suppress those feelings and emotions, and it does project as blame.
Yeah.
And they want to have that communication, but because of the disappointment and the shaming, they just it's outwardly angry.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's kind of the same experience? You know, I think sometimes as a man, and I've had to learn this through experience, you have to kind of take charge of those emotions, and not necessarily lay fault or lay blame, but actually take those emotions and take a leadership position over them.
Right.
Where I can have that discussion with you and talk about these things without getting too emotional about it. Because I think at the end of the day, when you project yourself and you're angry and you're frustrated about not doing the laundry or whatever it is, it's really not about laundry. It's like, hey, I'm feeling deeper, disconnected from you, and I need that affirmation you're still with me.
Right. And a lot of guys don't do that. They don't do that at all. Yeah. And when you try and ask them for that, it's like, why? What am I doing wrong? Like, why am I a terrible person? You know, like they just freak out about it. It's like, no, I'm just trying to communicate with you.
Yeah, and I think it's really a challenge for guys to do that. So.
It is.
So I'm here, Robert Morales, RCO Network, with the CEO of
Think Pretty Boutique,
Miss Taylor Wood. She is here with us. We're exploring a new show concept about relationships and our experiences. You know, I think I have a little bit more experience, perhaps, a little bit. And definitely a lot more stories, which we're deciding whether or not we share. Yeah. She's definitely got her stories, but probably not as much as mine.
No.
So we're here talking about relationships and, again, developing a new show. So if you want to go ahead and hit the like button, if you like what you're seeing, we love that engagement. If you want to leave any comments or anything. Oh, look, we have a few comments. Oh. Gabrielle is on right now from LinkedIn. Feminism has castrated men. I definitely believe it.
Oh, so true. So true.
And is actually unattractive to women no matter what they say publicly. Definitely, especially long distance. Amanda's on right now too. And Amanda, yes, relationships are hard. And yes. Hi. Amanda said hi. So if you guys are hanging in there, again, if the comments and questions, if you have anything that you want to share, please, by all means, bring those to our attention and we will address them. But I again, going back to marriage.
Yes.
Yes. You got to talk to the microphone.
Oh, yes, maybe.
I love the concept of marriage.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know it's for everybody, though. You know, I definitely think it's for some people who are consciously aware that there's another person that they have to tend to, and not take care of necessarily, but tend to. You know, and in a marriage, you're coming in with your own problems. You're coming in with your own expectations, and that doesn't necessarily serve in a relationship. You know, like okay, so I've had this discussion many a times, and there's so many women that are like, I have a checklist. The guy has to be fit. He has to have a good job. He has to have a good career. He has to have a good car. You have the checklist, don't you? But that's also coming with the expectations that this person's going to meet all these criteria. And when they don't, it's like, they don't match my checklist, so I'm going to break up with them. You know, and for a guy, it's like, okay, she has to stay attractive. She has to stay thin. Her boobs have to look great, even after kids. She has to lose there's like all these things that a guy has, and it's really more aesthetic than anything else.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with emotions. They just they just want a chill girl that's going to be hot all day, which is not legitimate either. If you have kids, they're not going to stay hot forever.
No.
Stuff's going to, so, you know, so I've been very mindful of that too. And there's certain things that you want, but it's not necessarily what you need.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so in a marriage, I think you really have to understand that, not to come in with expectations and understand the other person, that they're going to come with their problems. And are they in the same spot you are? Right. You know, are they, I think women have a better filter and filtering out some of those kind of like insecure guys.
Oh yeah. No, totally. If we smell any sense of insecurity.
Is it a literal smell? I know, and I think you can pick up on that, like in a bar, and you challenge, and I believe me, I've tried to hit on people at bars all the time. It doesn't always work, and I've always tried different approaches and everything else, but again, when you're coming into a relationship, if you come into it with expectations, it's bound to fail.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you just have to go into it blind, you know, just not expecting anything. That's what I've learned too.
Oh shit! What's on your checklist?
My checklist. Well, it's actually a funny story because every time I make a checklist, I always end up with a guy who is the exact opposite of my checklist. I don't know what it is. I think it's because my checklist is mostly like personality and like material items compared to like personality. Like I hardly ever have like personality things listed on the checklist. So my checklist is usually
Hot.
Yes, hot, successful, over 6'1". Boys, if you're listening right now and your Hinge and Tinder and Bumble profiles say that you're 6 foot, we know you're not 6 foot. We know you're either 5'9", 5'10", and there's
Hey, I'm 6 foot in my shoes.
Okay, perfect. So that means you're 5'11".
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh,
we know. So don't even try.
So that's really it? It's all aesthetics?
No, yeah, it's honestly mostly just aesthetics. Like, they're successful. They have good ambition.
Do you think that's an age thing too? Like, because again, like at this point in my life, I realize that not every girl's going to stay hot forever.
Right.
There are certain things that can be attractive, but physicality has less to do with it, because at the end of the day, you go home and you have conversations. And believe me, I've been on dates with really attractive women, but the conversation's just
so dry, so dry.
It's just horrible.
Yeah.
And it's just like you sit there and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, what I've noticed from being on dating apps is the guys that I find are the most attractive and the ones that I'm like, yes, like we matched or whatever. Yeah. We have a conversation. I'm like, ew, like they are so dry. Like I'm not getting anything out of this guy. Like I really try asking
You know what
questions.
I think that is? You know what I think that is?
What?
I think that's a lack of passion.
Yeah.
And when somebody doesn't have any kind of something just special in their life, they can be like into photography, but they're so into photography that they can just talk about it all day long. That I think that's when somebody doesn't have a passion in their life. Yeah,
but why do we get more attracted to those people is what I wonder. Because the people who don't give me, like, they're so dry and don't give me the time of day, I'm like, yes, like I want you more.
You know what I think it is that I think you want to be you want to be part of that passion.
Yeah,
you want somebody to give you the same attention, the same reverence. Like when I pick up a camera, I love the fact that I can manipulate the picture, the image. I can use the shutter speed to add some, texture to the photo itself, and I can talk about those things forever. And it's and I think women in themselves want a guy or somebody. Men, want a guy to give that much attention,
right?
And I guess that attention to detail as they do themselves. At least that's my perspective.
And that's what I think too.
And so it's that yearning for the detail.
Yeah, like if they're not interested in talking to like random people, then like I want to be the one that they're like interested in. Like if this is their personality, I want them to spice it up. Like I don't know, definitely I want to be that passion for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's an envy there, right?
There is, yeah.
Because if somebody has no passion, then it's like, okay, so
it's like why? Why not? Why don't you like me?
What do you do?
What do you do?
Okay.
Yeah, it's so dry. Rather than the guys who I'm like more just kind of like, oh, we matched. Okay, like I'll try and have a conversation. I'm like, but they're actually like putting in the effort. So what do you do? What do you like to do? How did you start this? How did you do that? It's so interesting.
I think I definitely think the ones that aren't as attractive, like, okay, so I guess if we're using a scale, like I think everybody wants to be with a 10, right? 10 hotness, men and women, right? I think that's across the board. But I think intellect too has something to do with that.
Oh, for sure.
More for women than men. I mean, a guy. So funny that a guy will override intellect with looks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how fickle a guy is, and it's taken me a lot to admit that. But it's just how we are. It's just it's a horrible thing, but it is. It is what it is. And I think we categorize everything in that scale.
Yeah.
But what we want isn't necessarily what we need,
so
true. And especially after the fact, after kind of like the sexual encounter, that's when the true reveal happens, right?
Yep, the true reveals for sure.
The conversations and the passion, everything else kind of comes out of that. And I don't know why that is.
I don't know why either. Like, are they trying to put on a different persona for the person that they want to, mission accomplished or whatever?
All right.
Or
so
what is it?
So Gabriella basically said, I love a lot of men, but I'd never live with them as their wife because of our personalities are not compatible. Passion stays hot when your daily life activities are compatible and entirely personality based. Yeah, I think again, when you have a hobby that is just you're so into, I think one of the parties, one of the people is envious of that.
Yeah.
Sure. like I do events, I do photography, and I'm really into like even the podcasting thing. I'm really into it, and I think sometimes women like that part.
Yeah.
They're envious that I can pay particular attention and detail to something that they want.
Yeah, and you can commit to something too and put your effort into it. That's what girls like to see for sure.
Yeah. So for those guys out there,
take notes.
Taylor is single. She's
Taylor
21. And she's out there. She's ready for a little bit of passion. So if you have a passion for life and the things in it, and want to ignore Taylor a little bit, she loves that.
I love it.
But that's really what it is, right? It's like
Yes.
it's kind of ignoring you in a way.
Yes.
So they're so directed to something that you want their attention.
Yes.
And I think that's so much of the attraction is not getting what you want, but it's like always chasing after it.
Yeah.
And it's like maintaining that in the relationship or maintaining that for a long term because you constantly need that, right?
And that game to try and figure out is so frustrating, let me tell you. Because, a guy will be talking to me and then I'm like, okay, well, he left me on red for a few hours, so now it's my turn. I need to give it some space before I reply. So then you do that. But then, you're just like, but I just want to respond to them. And then you cave in and you respond to them, and then they leave you on red again. So you can't win. It's like the game is so impossible for girls. It's so easier for guys because
I don't know. I don't think so.
They don't care.
From my perspective, it's a lot easier for women.
Really?
Because there's always going to be a guy that wants to hook up with you. There's always somebody else. I mean, it's your choosing.
Girls are the prize. We are the prize for sure.
Well,
yeah.
There is a package to be opened. We won't say what that particular package might be. But but there is a prize towards the end, and I think you really see the true valor after that happens.
Yeah.
What they're intended for, and the more you can push a guy off, the more he's going to yearn for it.
Right.
For a guy, it's more physical. For a female, it's more emotional, and it's that balance between the two and negotiating that between the two. I think that's the most important part.
Totally.
But it's an understanding between both that the guy's always going to want you physically, and that the guy that they're going to want you emotionally. So you can't just give in all the time.
Right.
You can't just text and follow up and then shoot 20 texts and be like,
Yeah.
hey, how come you haven't responded? How come you haven't? I sent you a text 2 minutes ago. You haven't responded. And you're like, dude,
never
don't you have
do
a
that.
life?
Anybody who's watching, don't ever do that.
Also, we're on the tail end of our show today. We're only going to be on 30 minutes. Thank you for Gabriella for tuning in. Amanda, thank you for the comments. Again, we'll take any comments that you want to leave and any hearts or emojis. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button because we love that. But
Subscribe.
I think we'll end up with dating apps, right?
Yeah, let's talk about dating apps.
Oh.
My favorite.
So dating apps, which is the best one?
Hinge.
Hinge.
Yes.
I'm not on dating apps.
So I've been on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge.
Well, Tinder is more like hooking up.
Yeah, but except I did not know that when I first moved here. I literally downloaded Tinder and I put in my bio, I'm just looking for some friends. I just moved here, and all these guys are like, yeah, baby, I'll be your friend. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And then Hinge is definitely, I feel like you learn more about a person through what the prompts are on the dating site.
On Hinge?
Yeah, it shows their height, it shows what they do for a living, it shows where they're from. It shows a lot, and it gives you prompts, and people can answer them. They can answer funnily if they want to, they can answer serious, however they want to. So it's really interesting, and you just kind of learn a little piece about a person every time you swipe. So I think that's my favorite part, rather than Bumble and Tinder. It's just, what's your name? Let's see some photos of yourself. Skip, So I've had the most luck with Hinge, I would say.
So as far as the reverse blame game is amazing. Hi, Lindsay. How you doing? So Hinge is the best app to go to.
Yeah, for sure.
Ever been on Plenty of Fish?
No. I feel like that one is...
That's for old people.
Maybe. You said it, not me.
I think I was on eHarmony and Plenty of Fish. And that was definitely an interesting experience. I totally got off of it at the time. I no longer need those apps, but... I was on Tinder. I think that's kind of a waste of time for guys.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You said Bumble?
Bumble, yeah.
Bumble's, is a little bit of a challenge, too.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Bumble because the girls get to talk first on Bumble. So if you guys match, then the girl has to, make the first move, which is nice because I usually like to make the first move anyways. So.
What's your go-to move? What do you do? So if you like a guy and he's kind of pulling away, what's your go-to move?
That's a really good question.
You give him the lips?
Yeah.
Do you do the lick lip?
Come here, baby. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Well, you don't want to come. I think for girls, coming off needy, right?
Yeah. No, me, never.
Well, I think that's on both ends, coming off needy.
Yeah. Ew, if a guy comes off needy, no. Automatic pass.
So like, okay, so you're into a guy. He's a 10 hot. He might be dull as shit, but what do you care? You're 21.
Yeah.
What's your go-to kind of like? Do you give him the eye?
Yeah, definitely like eye contact, I guess. And then like if they buy me a drink, just like make sure like make eye contact like while you're sipping the drink. And if they're like, I don't know, I kind of go off of what they're conversating with because they could be a 10, but like if there's no personality there, like I want to make sure like you can conversate. So if they're
if they're a 10, is it just physical then?
No.
Is like I mean okay, so for a guy it's like, okay, if she has no personality and she's really crazy, I can deal with that if I get some.
Yeah.
And then
not for girls.
And then as soon as you get some, you're like, check out.
Yeah, pretty much. That's
a guy thing. I don't know if it's the same for women.
Definitely not for women. I would say like I have to be able to have a conversation with you at least first. Like if we're going out for some drinks and you cannot hold a conversation, like just leave. Get the tab and leave. Honestly.
Even if they're a 10 hot.
Even if they're a 10 hot, nobody would be okay with just like sitting there in awkward silence with a 10. Just right across from you. I'd feel so like
What
nervous.
if he pulled up in his Lambo?
No.
Oh.
Come on, if he had a Lambo, he'd have to have something to talk about, right? You would think.
I don't know. My Lambo's on back order, so.
Oh, okay, right. I forgot.
I don't know.
What's your go-to? What would you say?
My go-to in the past or what?
Yeah,
I mean,
go-to
mostly.
in the past.
I've been so awkward my whole life that I don't necessarily have or developed one. It wasn't until like later on that I realized a lot of things. So I read a lot of psychology. I read a lot of books, and I think at the end of the day, as long as I'm confident and I'm not I'm presenting as needy, I think has been the big takeaway. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm just me.
You're right. And
I'm gonna have conversation. I'm just gonna do me. And I mean, I get so into just the detail of things like music, and I get into this stuff. I get into video work that I there's really no go-to because it's just awkward for me.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that.
It's never been like, hey, I guess in the past I've never had enough confidence to really like, approach somebody and be like, hey, this is what's going on.
No, that's the same with me. That's why I say they have to
what's
have
going on, Taylor? What's going on?
Come here, Rob.
I've never had that confidence, nor have I had a soundtrack to do that with. So, so it's just, I allow things at this point just to kind of flow and go with it. And sometimes I think, I don't know, I've been successful that way.
Yeah. No, that's good because I'm kind of the, you're like,
I don't want to reveal too much. So.
No, it's kind of the same with me because like I am very awkward and I like to be sarcastic and like make jokes.
Well, do you think you're awkward when it's somebody that you find attractive?
I just think I'm awkward in general. Like even at work, like talking to clients and stuff. Like
I can see that. I think some of the awkward. So it's a very similar awkwardness that
like
I have.
Quirky.
Yeah, because like I will tend to laugh and chuckle.
Yes.
When I feel out of place, or
if I don't know what to say. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying like they can be a 10, but they have to have some personality because unless you want awkward me like 24/7 talking, like you gotta have some personality.
You should hear her talk off camera.
Yeah. Let's go.
So we're at the end of the show today. So wow, we've got a few more people chiming in. Hi, Lindsay again. She's laughing. She said this is a fun episode. So we're going to be coming every week. We're going to cut it off we're at 33 minutes now. Can you believe that? We've been talking forever.
No way. I thought it's been like 10, 15 minutes maybe.
So this is a new show. We're kind of putting things together, and we've named it Tailored Love just because of Taylor Wood. It's really her show. It's not mine.
In the flesh.
Oh boy. Single AF. That's really what.
He's regretting it.
I'm kind of having second thoughts here.
Second thoughts, maybe.
So we're going to be coming hopefully every week. I think we're debating whether it's going to be Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but Taylor is the CEO of
Think Pretty Boutique.
And so we're going to be sharing her perspective and maybe situations. Maybe we'll get some updates on her love life and the people she hooks up with.
I'm recently single and recently 21, so you guys are in for an adventure for sure.
Oh, shit.
Some stories.
So that might mean we need to cut her off a lot. I need a button to cut her off.
Yeah, or just slide the beer away from me because that makes me talk more.
Oh, boy. So we're going to cut it off there. But I want to thank you guys for joining in. Tune in next week. Maybe we'll have some more and we'll talk a little bit more. Leave your comments and we're going to be following up with those and hopefully have some more ideas for next week.
All right.
So we'll see you guys
Bye.
later. Thank you, Taylor.